So welcome back to PodX. Our guest for today is Anand Ahuja. I've been waiting for months to see this podcast happening, and it's finally happening here. I'm super excited. So Anand bhai, let's dive into this podcast. I want to talk about fashion. I want to talk about entrepreneurship. I want to talk about sports. There's just so much to talk, and there's so much of value to gain from you. And I'm super excited.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for being patient.
Yeah,
Nice to
so
talk
I
to you, Ayush.
actually wanted to start with the first mail which I sent you, which is a backstory maybe for the audience who is listening to this or something. So I remember actually the
Yeah.
first time I mailed you, you got back to me in like 43 or 44 minutes, and that was really one of the coolest things for me at that moment. And I remember coming across you through an article which I read on the web. So that is really cool about you, and I appreciate that a lot of you about you.
No, man, thank you. I'm actually like with emails, I'm a little bit cyclical. Like I respond to all my emails, but sometimes I fall behind. If if it's traveling or if I have certain meetings and I don't like, I don't check my emails on my phone. So I check everything on like my iPad or my computer. So I don't like check emails when I'm on the move. So, some days I fall behind, then I get back to people slowly, but I always get back. And then I think when your email came, I was just sort of in the mode of getting through my emails. So that's why I was able to get back to you quickly.
So I want to start off on how do you get the idea of Bhaane and VegNonVeg?
Um, well, it doesn't happen at once necessarily. Bhane I grew up, in my family does apparel manufacturing. So I grew up seeing clothes always being made and mostly for export. So I always had that exposure. And when I went to school, then I left when I was 18 and I went to college and worked in New York and then MBA and stuff. And I guess in my mind, I used to always think about coming back to India and working on a brand. So when I was younger, I used to also tell my dad, we should do a brand. And he would say that, look, it's not my interest, but if it's your interest, you should do it. And so I had in my mind, I never really thought anything of it until I was working at Amazon. And I saw the power of online retail when I was there. And that's when I decided to come back to India. And I didn't even necessarily plan to like come to India and start the brand right away. I planned to come and work. And then the Bhane just started on the side. So that was one thing that started on the side. And VNV, Veg Non-Veg that was a hobby. I always like grew up playing basketball and like looking forward to what sneaker I'm going to buy that summer for the rest of the year to play basketball and stuff. And so I was working with this guy Avinit, who's the founder of one of the co-founders of Brewhouse, which is a creative agency that Bhane was working with. So him and I became good friends, and we used to talk about a sneaker lounge to share our love for sneakers, and that's how V&V started. But yeah, stuff happens over a long period of time. I always loved sneakers, and I always wanted to create a brand for India because I always saw apparel being made for export. So it's like, over many, many years, it's not something that happens overnight per se.
You're also known as the sneaker OG of India, right? Your love for sneakers. Almost every sneaker lover knows who Anand Ahuja is. Like, this is weird, but you are known as different people. Like, different people as in the sneaker lovers of India know you as the sneaker OG of India. Then there are basketball lovers who know you as Anand Ahuja, the basketball lover. I think you're a Lakers fan, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am. I grew up playing. Back then in India, we didn't have access to all the games like we do now. On League Pass and stuff. So we used to just get a couple games a week, and so they used to always show Lakers games and they showed Bulls games. So growing up, I saw Lakers and I saw Kobe's first All-Star. Actually, I didn't even see Kobe's rookie year, but in his sophomore year, he played in the All-Star game. Rookie year, he was in the dunk contest, which I don't really remember that vividly. But his sophomore year, he was in the All-Star game, and I just like really caught my attention. MJ was there and all this stuff, and like, who is this kid? And since then, I've been hooked to Kobe and the Lakers. So it's yeah, that's why.
I have a friend who follows NBA a lot more than I do. I actually don't watch too much of basketball, but he follows a lot. And he was like coming up to me when I told him about you. He was the first thing which came was Anand Bhaiya is Anand Bhai. is a Lakers fan, but Kings is the best team. That's what he told me. And he was like, could you tell
Who's
that
the
to
best
him?
team?
Kings.
Who's the best team? Kings.
So, yeah, that's what he told me.
Kings. Kings is not the best team. No, Lakers and Kings had this like mini rivalry going on for a few years. So maybe that's what he means. But look, I'm a basketball fan. So since obviously Kobe retired, I obviously still like the Lakers and stuff, but it really became about basketball. You can't. It's hard for anyone to have an affiliation with one player as strong as usually every person has an affiliation with one player. It's hard to replicate that. So I love seeing LeBron and Lakers, but I just generally love seeing basketball. Like the Kings were in India this time last year, and I was happy to be at the game. I was grateful to be at the game and support them, and obviously they're doing a lot. Their owner is doing a lot to bring basketball to India. So I definitely am a fan of that organization. Just a big fan of basketball overall. I really like what the Clippers are doing. They've got this guy Jerry Buss, who's an advisor to them. He was a GM of the Lakers, and he's the one that brought Kobe on. So there's a lot going on in the sport, which I'm happy to see.
So I want to get back to the topic which we were discussing. You worked in what was one thing that you learned from Amazon while working over there that helped you grow Bhaane?
Amazon, there's so much. Amazon saw the power of online retail, that in itself was what sort of became the platform for Bhaane. So just seeing how powerful, and then Amazon also really focused on customer service. They were very clear on what their goal was. And every meeting that they had started with that goal. So Amazon, their biggest thing is the customer. And so every meeting they had, they would say, okay, what would benefit the customer? And that would be, and then they would work on how do we get to that solution. So they were great that way. And that's something that I definitely carried over into Bhaane, is just being very clear on what your vision is, and every decision you make should move you towards that vision,
But how did you grow Bhaane as a brand? Like, you started the company. What's the next thing? What happened next? How did you create energy around it? How do you create those telling people that there's this new brand that has started or something? Was it ads or what was it?
No, we didn't do any ads. I see. It started on the side, so it was very much like, on the side business. Like, I was just learning, and I was just making stuff for us, the people I worked with at Shahi, and us to wear. So it wasn't really. We weren't trying to make it that big first. We were trying to make it for young creatives. And so our photo shoot was quite simple. Everything was quite simple. We didn't do any ads. Our team was small. And I think the only thing that made it grow was just a focus on what you were trying to achieve, and it resonated with people. And we grew, but then it also slowed down, a little bit in the middle. So when you lose that, as soon as we sort of diluted our vision, that also slowed down the growth. So it sort of went back into, we've never really done ads for Bhaane. We experiment with some Instagram stuff now, but it wasn't about how much to grow it. It was about how focused you can be. So, they say like you would much rather have, focus on getting 1,000 loyal customers instead of 10,000 regular customers. If you can get the loyalty from even 1,000 people, then you go, okay, how do I make that 2,000 people? And that's how, like we focus on the brand. That's how we focus on VNV also, is just, how do we cater to the people that love the story of sneakers like Abhinit and I did, So that was always the focus. So it was not really about how to grow it or it's more about how do we reach more people that share the same, interests that we have for VNV and for Bhaane both.
So this question just popped up in my mind. What does Bhaane mean?
It means rising sun. So it's a Gurmukhi word. It means rising sun. Yeah, I didn't actually, when I first thought of it, it just sort of came to me, but I didn't really like it. But it stuck with me for a reason. I didn't really like it because I don't know, like it was hard to say. I didn't know what it meant properly. It was B and H is weird, but then for those same reasons why I started loving it, because because no one knew what it meant. So that means no one had a preconceived notion of what they expected to see from the brand, so that all those things sort of added up together to make it a name that I grew to love, but in the beginning I didn't originally love.
So there were some thoughts which I told you about this on the mail also, which were running in my mind. Now due to COVID, there are a lot of brands that are closing down. They've shut down their stores and all that stuff. So do you think there's like what do you think is going to happen next? What's next? Do you think there's a gap for a new merchandise brand to rise? Do you think new companies will be able to use, or the smaller ones will be growing faster? What's going to happen next? What are your thoughts on this?
um, no, see, in this time, there's one statement I read, which is the most sort of encompassing. It says, any trend you saw happening before COVID has been expedited. So you saw a movement to online retail. That's gotten faster. You saw a movement away from stores. That's gotten faster. So some brands are dying that haven't really mobilized into online retail or into online, and other brands are growing that were initially online. So there's always space. Like, the world is changing all the time, so it's never actually. That's the one thing that I learned from my dad. He used to say, when I used to tell him that, let's do a brand for retail for India, and he would say, you can do it when you want, but it's not my interest, for me to do it on my own. So I would say, no, but now's the right time. He said, there's never a right time or a wrong time. If you have a good idea, the market will always accept it. And that's the truth. Like, if you have a genuinely good idea, the market will find space for it. And whether you're creating a new market or taking someone else's spot in the market, that'll always be the case. So there's never a rush to say that, this, but you want to work with urgency, but you don't want to rush anything.
So yeah, that's coming to that part. You told this to me on the email also, that this is one of the biggest advice which you gave me, and it stuck with me, is to not rush with things, and till 25 just focus on learning new stuff rather than monetizing or anything. So could you elaborate a bit on that?
Well, see, you can't necessarily put a number to it. Like, for me, I moved back when I was 25, but for other people, it'll be different. It'll be later. It could be earlier. Different paths. But the main thing is that you have to be very clear in why you're doing something. And if that's unclear, then that will catch up with you. So that means you're probably rushing it a little bit. Once that becomes clear, then how you work on it becomes much easier. Now, everyone's journey is a little bit different, but the main path, it's not necessarily even my advice. That's what I learned from my dad, where he used to say, the market will always accept a good idea. So you want to wait till your idea is a really solid, mature idea, and the market will accept it. And that's what it means by not rushing. So you might have a great idea at 17, and you could say, okay, cool, and I'm going to work on it. I mean, like, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg started in his, he was at Harvard. I don't remember what year he started, but he left before he finished. And so it's different for different people.
So what has changed in 25-year-old Anand and now 37-year-old Anand?
What's changed between 25 and 27?
37. I think you're 37 right now, right?
37. I'm 35. So 25 and 35.
Sorry. Yeah, the 10-year.
No, it's okay. It doesn't matter. 25 and 35. I mean, I think stuff changes like day to day, really. I don't know what specifically between those 10 years, but 25, I just moved to India. 35, working on different things. But I think patience is one of those things you have to keep building. It's not, and I don't think people are necessarily born with patience. So that's definitely one thing. Obviously, I met Sonam when I was 30. So, that's a big thing. A lot more sort of awareness that you get only when you meet a partner. But otherwise, I mean, inherently, I feel like very similar still. But you learn you learn a lot about yourself when you're with a partner. So that's different ages for different people. I don't know what would have changed specifically with age, specifically in those 10 years, but more in the circumstances.
But so there's this. I read this somewhere in a book. I can't remember which book, but I think there was it said that as we grow older, there are different phases. Like from 0 to 10, there's one phase. Then I think the teen years, there's another phase. Then as we get into our 20s, there's another phase. And from every phase, a part of our, part of our character stays with us. So what is that teenager Anand Ahuja that has stayed with you till date? And even the early as a kid phase. It's like people say the child in everyone is alive, but they don't see it. It's because of that phase. We do have that phase within ourselves, that part of that character, but we just don't perceive it. So which part of that is alive in Anand today?
You mean the teenage?
Yeah, the teenage and the smaller Anand, which is maybe 5 to 12. Those two phases, both.
I mean, I think that's the main thing. Like everyone needs to stay in touch with that age group, with that age of themselves, because that's the most truly part of yourself. For me, it's, I mean, with the teenage is basketball. That's something that I still play and still get excited about, and I still make sure I make time for it because it keeps me that's more teenage. But with even like with younger, it's important for everyone, and that's a lot of people lose over time. And for me, that's been something I reconnected with since I met Sonam, because she's so lighthearted, and that playfulness and lightheartedness is something that I had lost. Outside of basketball, I had lost it in sort of day-to-day life. So that's something that I've reconnected with because of Sonam. Where she herself is so lighthearted and brings me back to that part of myself also.
So a lot of our audience and a lot of people in India also perceive Anand Ahuja as a style icon. So could you give us top three style rules or style tips?
Style. Just, I mean, look, it's different for everyone. I think when I was younger, I used to try and, you look at certain things and emulate and, so I could say like be yourself, but at some times actually you need to emulate what you see so you can learn what your style is. So I definitely, everyone is moved by seeing certain trends. So I saw certain trends that appealed to me that I tried, that I look back, I'm like, okay, I don't know what I was thinking, but that's also part of it. So I think the main thing is, you don't be hard on yourself. That's the easy thing. And for some people it's fun. So if for me it's fun, so the recommendation I would give to myself is enjoy it. For someone else it is not fun, and then in that case, then don't force yourself. um, in that case, just if it's, don't force yourself because someone's telling you. If you enjoy it, you should do it. If you don't enjoy it, then keep it simple. So the main thing becomes that, like, Sonam obviously she loves it, her and Ria love it, and so that's the recommendation you give to them, to sort of enjoy it, and not let it become too serious. And for me also, I used to experiment a lot more than I do now. Now I don't experiment as much, but I found a sort of a comfort area that I like, and then for each person is different. So I guess if it's single piece of advice is that don't feel bad, or don't judge yourself, or don't feel afraid to be different. Whatever works for you is a thing. Like style, putting effort into dressing isn't everyone's interest, and you shouldn't feel like it has to be.
So basically, you don't follow any trends and you just wear what's comfortable for you. Is that?
Well, I think everyone follows trends to some level because you see it all around you. So even subconsciously, you follow it to some level. But some people don't like to. And for the advice is, no one has to. It's just that you should see what matters to you. And for some people, they really like, using clothing or shoes or accessories, or to express their beliefs or their personality, and that's great. And for some people they don't, and so other things will express that for them, and that's great also. Ultimately it's just that, like, clothing is just a way of expression, and and sneakers is the same thing, and hairstyle is the same thing, and tattoos and jewelry and whatever, everything is just a way of expressing yourself. So for some people clothing is a big part of it, some people it's not. That's just sort of how it is.
Okay, so I'm going to dive into a question which I'm pretty sure you're going to love, which is on your prized possessions, your three best sneakers which you own.
Mm, so the first one that comes to mind is definitely the first like really important sneaker that we had at VNV back in 2016, which is a Jordan 1 bread, which was re-releasing in 2016. And so VNV had that as the first camp out ever in India. And so that's definitely one. Um, Number two is probably the first shoe Sonam got me, which is this Adidas 3D printed. It's called a 3D runner. So that's like a triple black 3D printed Adidas shoe, and I love sort of innovation and technology. So that's the second one, and I'm just saying like off, and I guess the third one probably becomes I've always loved the Flyknit and the knit program. So Nike and Adidas came out with their knit program in uh, 2012 Olympics in London, and knits was huge for the industry because they moved from they moved into what's effectively like a it's single piece uppers, so there's no cutting. So you're knitting the top of the shoe together. And Nike came out with four colors, I think, and Adidas came out with one color. And that program, I have both the shoes that they first released, and so the Adidas Prime Knit is really nice actually, and the Nike Flyknit, the trainer, which I actually wore at my wedding also. So I think they sort of become number three, especially that Nike one since I wore it, I guess. But what's funny is that at the wedding I wore that one on the wedding day, but the Mehndi the day before, I was actually wearing this Addy shoe
Wait,
that just sort of how it goes. No one really, it didn't really get photographed or anything, but it's the Pharrell Holy Consortium shoe, the all white one, which is like the first sort of India first sneaker that's come out by a major brand. So that's also a very meaningful shoe. I didn't really have, I wasn't really involved in it in any way, obviously, but Deepika, who is the CEO for Bhaane now, she was at Adidas then, and that was a big project of hers. So that's, a really sort of meaningful shoe for India generally, for me to see it happen as a onlooker, I guess.
wait, I just wanted to interrupt you in the middle. Wait, I'm just curious. Wait, so you were a sherwani on top, and was it sneakers, or were you? This is like before the wedding when you were casually roaming around, or what was it? You were.
No, I was supposed to. So basically, what I would do is I would have like these formal shoes that I would mostly wear. Then I would change at some point into sneakers during the party or whatever. So the Mehndi day, I had, I was wearing this thing from this, white or cream white outfit, and I was wearing these brown shoes from Xenia, I think, and I changed into these Holy Pharrells. And then the next day, I was supposed to wear these black, beautiful, like Xenia, I think also Xenia shoes with my Sherwani, and just teasingly to Sonam, I wore my sneakers, and I said I'm going to go like this, and she said no, but just jokingly, I didn't realize it was going to become a big thing. Like I didn't realize it was going to be photographed in that way, so I was going to change into them later, but I just wore them earlier, just liked it, and yeah, so. You can Google that. Actually, it became like this big thing, I guess, few years ago now, 3 years ago, almost three
Wait,
years
but
ago.
do,
Yeah.
do you want a pair of Stan Smith?
Stan Smiths, yeah. I mean, I think everyone has Stan Smiths. I don't know if I have one in my closet right now, but oh, I have a pair of Stan Smiths. Actually, Deepika gifted me like this pair of Stan Smith for my wedding, so I have that pair of Stan Smith version right now. But they have these new vegan ones coming out, which is pretty cool.
Could you explain what vegan ones, as in?
It's like made of a vegan leather instead of real leather. So the new Adidas has this new like big vegan and sustainable program going on. So yeah, excited to see that.
Okay, so now this is one thing which I really wanted to know. You have so much to manage up and all that stuff, and you get a lot of DMs, mails, and all that stuff. So what is the first thought what is the last thought you have while you're going to bed, and what is the first thought you get when you wake up in the morning?
First thought when I go to bed and first thing wake up in the morning, I try not to. I try not to like. I try not to like look at my phone or anything like that in the morning for the first maybe 45 minutes that I'm awake. So usually wake up, and I actually like I do like a little brainstorm. So they call it like a brain dump where you just write whatever's on your mind. So I try to do that every morning when I wake up, especially during the weekdays, like when I'm in routine. Weekends, if I sleep in and stuff, then I'm not as good about it. So in the morning, I actually try and every day it's different. Like I just write down whatever comes to my head. Sometimes I'm thinking about work. Sometimes I write down like what I think what I thought in a dream or whatever it is. It's all like it's different every day. When I go to sleep, it's I try to end my day with like a little of this gratitude practice where you just remember what happened in the day, and you just when you think about what's happened in the day, there's so much that's happened gone your way that you don't acknowledge. Like something as simple as okay, like I woke up on time, I got the main work I wanted to get done. I got a workout in, I had a good workout. I got really good food in that made me feel good. Nothing I reacted to negatively. I had a nice conversation with my parents or with Sonam or whatever it is. Like all those things, the small things that you don't realize because any one day, one of that goes wrong. Like, let's say you wake up late, or let's say you don't finish the work you want to finish, or you have some food that doesn't sit well with you, or you have a fight with, an argument with your partner or your friend or your family. Like, they just completely, throws your day off. So you think about it on the days it's bad, but you don't think about it on the days it's good. So that's usually how I end my day. So just a sort of little bit of a reflection of that. So that's what I try and do.
What do you do? Like, what happens if when you're doing a self-reflection and then you notice that you've done something bad, maybe, or you've done something negative? What do you do about it the next day?
Done something negative as in?
So let's say you were maybe off in the mood. You spoke maybe rudely to someone. At that moment, you didn't get that part. Then after some time, when you realize it, it's already night. So what do you do about it? Like, do you
Yeah.
call up that person at that moment? Do you call next day? What do you do?
Yeah. I usually, so I don't keep my phone on my bedside. So what I'll usually do is either if it's really like something that I need to do, then I'll head to the other room and message that person. I won't call them because usually it's like, if it's at night, then you don't know if they're asleep or not or whatever. So I message that person, or I'll email if it's an email thing, or iMessage or whatever it is. So I try and do it then only. If I realize it at that time and I didn't realize it earlier, I try and do it at that time itself. Yeah, because yeah. So I definitely don't leave it for the next day.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about procrastination. How do you not let that come and affect you? Because for me and a lot of people out there, procrastination plays a huge role. We are like, let's do it tomorrow and all that stuff. So how do you stop yourself from procrastinating?
I mean, it's different for everyone. Um, Everyone procrastinates some level. It's just the biggest thing becomes like if you set goals for yourself, like okay, I have to get this done today, then you just have to get it done that day, and it's that simple. So it just becomes more like um, one piece of advice I got is like do the hardest thing first. So whatever is the thing you least want to do, that's the hard work. Do that first thing in the day. So I think it's just that goal to say, okay, I have to get it done. I have to get it done.
So marriage is a leap. It's a huge leap and changes a lot of things. It changes it changes a lot of stuff. So I'm not sure, so I can't say much. But so, what is one positive impact that this marriage had on you, which has changed you completely in a positive way?
No, I mean so much. Yeah, it's like having the right partner. It's so valuable. But it's like what we were discussing earlier. Just like reconnects you to your younger self, which is important. I mean, for me that was important. For someone else, it might be something else. For someone else, it might be actually getting more mature or getting more serious. So everyone's different. I think that's the uh, special part about having a great partner is that you complement each other and you challenge each other, whether that means to become more lighthearted or more serious, either way.
So now that you're 35 and as you're nearing 40, what are your plans for 40 when you're going into the next
Oh,
level?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't plan like by that. They say like people underestimate what you can do in a day, overestimate what you can do in a year. And so I don't know if I have a 5-year plan per se. It's just sort of you have bigger goals and bigger things, but I don't think I have a date set on it like that. So I don't know how 40 will change it, in a sense.
Okay, so I want to end this podcast with the last question, which is how does Anand Ahuja get his confidence from? So how do you get that energy? So what's your tip for someone who has lost confidence in life or on himself or something?
Hmm. Um, See, like in basketball, we have this thing of like get some like layups. So once you see the ball go through the hoop, you build your confidence. So I would say the same thing. Like it's really important to like that self-reflection thing that happens at night when you acknowledge everything good that's happened is really powerful because you realize, okay, you're doing a lot of things right, you're just not acknowledging it. So something as simple as if you're a very timely person, some people have a real issue with being on time to things and not turning things in on time, etc. So usually it's just first it starts off with acknowledgement of everything that's good that's happened, and then you realize, okay, my life isn't like that, that bad, or to make me feel so low in confidence. That's the first thing. Second thing is then you get some easy wins. So you start setting small goals. So, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you start working towards those. And once you get those in, then you start building your goals. So in basketball, like they'll say, okay, if you're missing a lot, you try and get some layups. So your team will set you up to get a couple plays that can be some easy buckets, easy baskets, and then that helps open you up and build your confidence to do further shots, etc. So it's the same thing in sort of the rest of life, I guess.
So Anand, thank you so much for being a part of this. I really had a great time. I hope you also had an amazing time being a part of this.
Yeah, man. A lot of these things are sort of so much different advice that I've learned from so many different people, and a lot, like really valuable stuff to me. So your questions really got a lot of those pieces of advice out, which have structured the way I sort of do my day and do my work and how I think. So I'm happy to share it, with someone as young as you and your listeners and your friends and stuff. So hopefully there's something that that resonates with them and affects them positively. And then hopefully next time we speak, I would love to hear some feedback on things that maybe they say that I can learn from also. So
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
collect that
Anand, do you want
information for
to
me.
tell them to subscribe? Do you want to tell them to subscribe to my podcast?
Yeah, man, I'm happy to subscribe. Ayush is a smart, young, ambitious man with very, very curious man, and asks some great questions and really gets to the bottom of some things that can be really helpful for people to learn, like not necessarily life hacks, but build perspective and learn how to manage their own lives. So subscribe.
Thank you so much, Anand.